there are traditional retirement vehicles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's use the two that are most ubiquitous, is the word that I'm going to use, a 401k. And I think what you started by saying is that you could actually get a life insurance policy and then take a policy loan against that policy and then use that to make investments in stocks, mutual funds, derivatives, or whatever it is, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
would you advise on that, or how does that work?
I mean, every person, every individual is going to be different. What's important is what I think is important to note here, especially when we are talking retirement, is that every person has to gauge what works for them. I've had people say, well, I have a 401k. Do I really need to have something like this because I will be withdrawing money from my 401k, right? I've also had other conversations where people say, I have this policy and I'm interested in growing my real estate and in using some of those funds maybe as down payments for me to get residential properties and rent them out. There is no strategy that is not, every strategy is going to be really dependent on you as an individual. But here's what I will say as it relates to your 401k. When you gauge or when you compare or when you look at all these, you have your 401k, which has an IRS contribution limit. So, how much you put into it, you have a limit to that.
Mm,
As it relates to your policy, we structure your policy according to what you are capable of. So I'm not going to limit you and say because your salary is this, then you can only contribute 5,000 towards your towards the policy. So we can go as high as you want or as low as you are comfortable. That's one of the things that a lot of times people look at. There is no minimum distribution that needs to be met. So with 401k, they are you right now in your 50s, you're not able to tap into that without
mm.
all the fees and things of that sort. However, with your policy, there's no restriction like that. You can still access those funds even before you reach your retirement years. And one of the other things that I really think about when it comes to withdrawing from your 401k is that at that point when you are withdrawing, you are going to be get taxed depending on when your tax bracket, or right, you do get that. And the difference is that when you have your 41 sorry your policy, as long as you are taking out policy loans, you will not be taxed on that. It's a loan. You don't get taxed on a loan when you're taking
Mm.
that loan. And lastly, one of the other things that you may want to consider is that as it relates to your 401k, is that with a 401k, you, I, my thoughts process just, it just, I just blanked out. So go ahead. We can talk about the other aspects. I'll probably think
Well,
about it as
when
I'm.
you think about a 401k, right?
Mm,
It's a near term decision, right? You're not paying any taxes on that income today.
yeah.
The one setup is that when you do retire or you reach 59 and a half, right, that's when you're going to have to pay income tax on that money. Now, if I were advising people around what they should do when it comes to their 401ks, is I would advise them to retire and not touch their 401k for like 2 or 3 years so that they could lower their income, right? They could lower their income and have that to be taxed at a lower level, right? Because if you're not bringing in any income, or you're only bringing in your social security or whatever other benefits are there, that's probably going to have you at a lower tax rate as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you touched on
Also,
this. Go
yes,
ahead.
I just remember this. Also, your growth in your 401k typically is tied to the markets. So if the markets are not doing so great, I remember there was a time, even for us, even though, we are not yet at retirement age, but we do look at to see the performance. And we were looking at it and we were seeing the market is not so great. And we could see all the losses that our accounts were hitting. And in that instance, right, if you're already retired and you are already withdrawing funds from your retirement fund, that means that on that year, or on during that period when the markets are not doing so great and you've incurred certain losses, once you withdraw money because you are retired and you need that money, that's what you're using for your living, that means that you've already taken that out. You can't say, well, I need to put this money back in so that it can grow as the market changes.
Yeah.
Now, with your policy, you really don't have to worry about that, right? So, as you have these funds, or as you have this cash component in your policy, when the markets are like that, what you can do is you can take money as a from your policy as a loan, and use that for your living instead of drawing from your 401k. That way you can give your 401k hopefully the time to be able for the markets to sort of correct and gain all that money back.
No, that's also there. And I was going to say, people might look at the opportunity to invest in a Roth IRA, but like other things, you can't touch a Roth IRA until 59 and a half, just the same, similar to your 401k. Now, when you put
Yeah.
money into a Roth, it's going in with tax money. So when you withdraw it, yes, with the Roth IRA, there is not going to be a tax consequence there, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But you can't touch it until 59 and a half. And I would say that a benefit to using a whole life insurance policy is that you can literally touch the money that you've seeded the policy with almost instantly. So now you put $50,000 in, and let's just say a couple of months from now, you can probably take 25, 30, $40,000 out at the same time. There are no restrictions on how you can get back access to that money. And now you can then use that money to invest in a second place. And if you're doing this pretty well, then that means that you're going to be able to grow that wealth in two places. And it almost could be like an infinite return, right?
Mhm. That's right.
But
That's right.
also, when it comes to 401ks, right? Once you reach 73 years old, now you are mandated through required minimum distributions to take out that money, right?
Mhm.
So even if you don't need the money, you are going to be required to have a minimum distribution from 73 on, right? Whereas with an insurance policy, that can basically continue to stay invested and grow until you pass on and you bequeath that to your heirs.